Welcome to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 30-year veteran writer, illustrator, editor, and publisher of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And today is another question and answers episode. I hope that everyone's hearing the sound okay. Yesterday we had a little bit of a problem. Sounds are up, that's good. Scene Killer says, the last show was really good, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate that. I did get a lot of good feedback on that episode, actually. 4 or 5 people actually really praised that episode, so I'm glad that people liked that episode. Okay, today's episode is actually a question that was on Comics by Perch, perchance, and Perch did answer it to some level of degree correctly. Well, not necessarily correctly, but just accurately. He made valid points. But I want to expound upon what he had to say because there was stuff that he didn't discuss. So let's go ahead with that question. From Comics by Perch, how come the members of Comicsgate or other crowdfunding creators don't form a creator coalition and approach Diamond to get their books into comic stores? I didn't get the name of the person who inquired. I don't think he actually mentioned it on air. So if that person happens to know who they are and they happen to come by this, I'm answering your question as well. The answer, there's many different answers and different components to that question. But let's start with what Perch had right. And that is, number one, the creator egos. There's always going to be egos involved as to who should or should not be allowed into the group and whose books will deserve priority in terms of marketing, scheduling, and other factors. And this can be a difficult situation because there are just people who don't want an individual because they don't like the person or they don't think their work is as good as their own, and they're afraid that someone else's work that may or may not be lesser is going to somehow adversely affect their sales. And that latter part's a little bit preposterous, I know, but that's the ego involved. The reason that happens, though, just think about it. Marvel. I mean, you work for Marvel. There's going to be books that are better than others, that are more popular, more successful than others. Does that mean that people that are on the less selling books, lesser talent? Not necessarily. It just has to be that some certain characters are more popular than others or whatever the case might be. So there's that situation. So unless you have a trusted elected leadership that everyone's pretty much agree with to help make those decisions and set up a structure that everybody follows, there's going to be a lot of infighting and backbiting, and that will tear apart the group from within. The other thing is, not all creators and publisher groups have the same agenda, and a coalition group tends to have to be on the same page. You cannot have your members walking out when their end goals change. Let's say I'm doing a book and I get a big licensing deal from toys, or I get a big payout for a film rights. And so I don't need to really, I got enough money to do it on my own. I don't need to be part of the group anymore. And I choose to leave. People do that and have done that in the past. And that can adversely affect what happens to the group as a whole. And Scene Killer has something that's we're going to get to in a point. But anyway, so finding everyone and making everyone be on the same page, putting the right people in charge, and locating a warehouse or warehouses for everyone's books to be shipped to, and having proper oversight to make sure that the content is accounted for, shipped out to where it needs to be shipped out to. You have proper accounting group for reviewing, tracking, receiving all your books, and distributing your payments correctly to each individual member within the group according to their sales. That's going to be a very difficult task, and it's in a lot of ways too much of a headache for most people to want to bother with. But the real reason that they aren't doing it is because the industry tried to do this very same type of coalition back in the 1990s, early 1990s, as the rumblings that Marvel was about to buy out Heroes World were being heard. There were several small press publishers that looked to form under one banner group to deal with Diamond, to deal with the printers, specifically Brenner Printing out of Texas and Printy Print and Litho out of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. This is mostly just for the indies because a lot of those books at that time were black and white. But there were at least 7 different meetings of various publishers at different conventions between the summer of 1992 and the summer of 94. I personally attended 2 of those meetings, held at Motor City Comic Con in Dearborn, Michigan in October 93, and then again at Motor City Comic Con in the first Novi show in March of 94. Now, some of the parties that were involved in those meetings included Gary Reed, the publisher for Caliber Press Comics, Dan Votto, publisher of Slave Labor Graphics, Mark and Ken Lester, who were the publishers and creators for 5 Star Comics, Dennis Kitchen of the publisher for Kitchen Sink Press. It was not just Joseph Michael Linsner for Sirius. Originally, it was his original co-partner, Joseph Monks, for CFD Publications, but I think it was 93 that they parted ways, and Linsner co-founded Sirius, and Joe went and found his own separate group. But at the time of the meeting, they were with CFD together, but Joseph stayed with us when he went over to Sirius. And Randy Zimmerman, who is currently the publisher of Arrow Comics, but back at this time, he had a company called Laser Comics, and there were numerous others as well. And yes, at these meetings, we had those ego issues. Fortunately, we did quickly wise up, and we let Gary, Dan, and Dennis be the heads of the group, as they were the most experienced and had the largest publishing power in terms of the number of books being released and having good printer relations comparative to the rest of the guys that were mostly doing 1 or 2 books as compared to 15, 20, 30 titles. Now, at Motor City Comic Con in March 94, Gary and Dennis approached Diamond, and this is exactly what Sin Killer is getting at. Diamond chooses who gets distributed or not, so it's pointless in a way. We explained that this was going to be the intent, that we were going to form this group. Almost immediately, we were told by Diamond's representatives that if we attempted to form this group, they would refuse to carry all of our products. This, of course, spooked a lot of people, and they freaked out, and they didn't know what to do, so the group more or less fell apart. But some of us went over to Milton Greep over at Capital City Distribution and signed exclusively to his group in hopes of building that coalition up through Capital. And that included Dennis Kitchen, that included Dan Votto, that included Viz Publications, TSR Games was with us in that time. I can't remember if Gary signed officially exclusively to Capital or not, but it was quite a few people. Unfortunately, the retailers didn't have any interest in supporting that, as the other major companies that were signing exclusive to Diamond, and that was done mostly through intimidation tactics, as far as I'm concerned, and others that were part of the, while we say the undercard independent scene of that era, they'll probably tell you the same. But of course, Image, Dark Horse, Antarctic Press, quite a few of those other companies went to Diamond exclusive because of the pressures that they were putting on. As a result, Capital Distribution sued Marvel for acquiring Heroes World because it basically destroyed their business, because they didn't have anybody that was a so-called major publisher to represent anymore. And that allowed Capital to stay in business until 1996, July of 96. But the damage was done and it was too extensive. And Kitchen Sink, Slave Labor Graphics, TSR, and Viz, which were, I think, the big 4. Like I said, I think Caliber might have been in there as well. Just wasn't enough to sustain them as a full company, and they got absorbed by Diamond. Now, while all of this was going down, there were other regional distribution groups already trying to form to replace what was lost. We had Penguin Palace out of California. We had United Comics, which, if I remember correctly, were out of Indiana. Bud Plant was trying to expand to be more inclusive of the indies. There was Last Gasp. There were a few others as well. But again, retailers simply were not interested in supporting any of these attempts. Other parties would later come in a few years later in the late 90s, early 2000s, such as Kevin Clady and Barry Gregory, and they attempted to rebuild the distribution channels as well. But again, we hit the wall. The comics retail community balked at their efforts, and this resulted in Clady becoming more of a liquidator of failed comic shops and distributing their back issues to non-direct market retail venues, and eventually opening his own retail shop in Tifton, Georgia, known as the Zone Collectibles. And Gregory went on to create one of the biggest print-on-demand companies and distribution groups through his Kablam Printing and the web store, indieplanet.com. Had the retail community at large properly supported either of these two gentlemen or both of these gentlemen, we would probably have 3 or 4 massive distributors currently in the industry, and there wouldn't be any need for crowdfunding because everybody would be getting distributed by somebody to retailers. With this history in mind, it seems extremely unlikely that Diamond could have had much interest in supporting a creator coalition doing independent comics, even with all of the key publishers today no longer truly being exclusive to them, and some of them not even using them as a distributor at this time. They would have no reason to, given the consistent lack of interest expressed by comics retailers. So that takes us to April 2020 and the COVID situation. And as you all know, DC stepped away from Diamond and signed a deal with Lunar Distribution. And I want you all to think back about how angry the retail community was about this, how they acted about how this all came out of left field. It did not. DC had been working to leave Diamond since 2018, and they would have left Diamond by the year's end anyway. The plans were to announce it at San Diego Con that year and give the retailers from San Diego until the end of the year to get their things in order. But when Diamond shut down and put everything in lockdown, they just moved up their timetable because they didn't want their books to be frozen. But you've heard major retailers like Chuck Rosansky of Mile High Comics, Joe Field of Flying Colors Comics, Brian Hibbs of The Comics Experience, James Syme of Isotope Comics, and Phil Boyle of Coliseum Comics, among other high-profile retailers. They all threw public hissy fits on social media about this, claiming how this would destroy the industry because Lunar happens to be owned by the Discount Comic Book Service Company, or DCBS, which is the online comic retailer group, who is one of their main rivals. Well, I got news for those morons. Steve Jeppe was a multi-store retailer before he owned Diamond. He was your competitor. Milton Greep was a retailer and a publisher before he launched Capital City Distribution. He was your competitor. There isn't a single damn comics distribution group in this country that was not your competitor as a retailer at some level in the history of this business. So that is not a valid complaint. But that attitude has permeated the market, and that has caused more consternation as publishers are looking at this and saying, well, retailers just don't want to carry us. And even Lunar seems less than willing to try to open a rapport to bring in crowdfunded products as a result, because they don't believe that retailers will order us. So if we're looking at the history, it's not hard to understand why. So many of these crowdfunded books are actually former Dark Horse books, Image Books, IDW Books, Caliber Press, Boom, Oni Press, Titles, among other publishers that retailers didn't support when they were in the Diamond market. So it's easy to think that even if we formed a coalition and worked with Diamond, there would not be orders being made, at least not from retailers. And that's why these people have left the Diamond market to go into crowdfunding and market directly to you, the fans. If you're not going to have the retail support, then is there a legitimate need for an independent creators coalition? Are we really going to see the benefits at a printer or in terms of distribution directly to our readers under such a system? Well, yes and no. There are some benefits to trying to form a group, but what I think ultimately would happen is that any such group would end up splintering off into their friend factions, their little clique groups, like in grade school or junior high school, and that would be to the detriment of the whole, and ultimately the attempt would fail in terms of trying to get our products into mass market. Otherwise, we would have groups like Alliance Comics, who did their books through Walmart in the last couple of years, that went basically nowhere. And Peterson Many's Alterna Comics would have already opened doors to those other venues, the other formats and price points that they tried, because the market would have been much more lucrative and more open for all involved. Now, this is not to say that you can't do it, that it's totally impossible. Nothing is impossible. But if we're going to work in that direction, you first have to have a retail market that wants to do business with you genuinely and sincerely, and we haven't cracked that nut yet. And I think that's the biggest problem overall. Sin Killer says, the problem is that big companies smash smaller ones. You have a great idea, but you won't get far. Yes and no. I mean, you can have small companies be successful. That is Midnight, that you probably heard crying. That's my kitty. I would say that if smaller companies didn't succeed, we wouldn't have had companies like Caliber. We wouldn't have had Kitchen Sink Press for 25 years. We wouldn't have had the success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and so on. But they are hit and miss and not a consistent pattern of it because of the advantages of the people with the big bucks, as you say. Usually smaller companies sell out because the big ones make them an offer or can't reviews. Why not get a fat check, then compete for full change? Yes and no. I think that with a lot of the retailers, they're scared to support independent comics, partly because we don't always have people that are sound in their business strategy and they don't manage to get their books out on a regular schedule. And part of it is because with you're dealing with Diamond, they're not getting the same discount levels as the big two books. Well, he went away for a minute. Let me see if I can get him back. North. Come on, kitty. Where'd you go, boy? Midnight. Midnight. Where are you? I think he went back downstairs. He comes back up, I'll grab him. But anyway, oh, here he comes. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Come here. They want to see you. Oh, that's right. Go flat on the floor. Come here, you little monster. This is my cat, Zilla. 20 pounds of black fury. And the reason he's crying is because it's almost 6, and that's din-din time. And he's like, I want to get fed. There he is. Yeah. So, yeah, this is my baby. He's a good kitty overall. Yeah. But, okay, little one. You go get din-din. But anyway, so, that's basically the gist of that. I think I lost my track of, my train of thought, but yeah, give me a second. We can have a coalition, but I think we're going to have to do it on a much smaller level. And we've had successful groups that have done books and stuff, but it's been very short-lived. People like Studiosaurus, they had a group for a while. the Image Founders is the founders. Image Comics is a separate entity as far as what they do. But that's the closest we've come to that type of a situation. But even they don't have the power base that they used to have back when they started, because when Image kind of took that third to second spot away from DC and was almost crowding on Marvel in the 90s, and Marvel decided to go by Heroes World, the industry panicked, basically, because they were like, oh, we don't know how to handle being retailers. Most retail businesses, you have to use more than one distributor. And while a lot of people did use more than one distributor, a lot of them were more exclusive for the comics, and then a different distributor for like games and toys at the time. They didn't know how to handle budgeting their money. And that's where a lot of the problem today is. A lot of these retailers just don't know how to budget and order and get everything. And things are much more expensive, of course, today for books. And as I said, the independent comics, you get like, even though Diamond's getting a 60% cut, no matter 62% cut, no matter which the publisher is, the retailer gets like a 55 to 58% cut on a Marvel book on the discount. But like Sin Killer's book from Arrow, if that was coming through Diamond, would only get like a 48% discount. So it's like 10 cents less on the dollar for profit. So you're making 30 cents less profit per book. So even if they're the same price, do I want to sell Sin Killer's book, which is only one title, or do I want to sell X-Men and get that person to buy X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, X-Men Red, Blue, Green, Black, Puce and Chartreuse, Wolverine, etc., etc.? They want to do the Marvel books because they'll have that sale. North Free. Oh, geez. Early years. North Free asks, what years did I have creative freedom? That would be 92 to 2001, when I was basically self-publishing and self-distributing. I wasn't really, I was part of the Diamond market, and I did do freelance work for Marvel and stuff, but predominantly what I was doing was what we call the real underground comic scene, where I was self-publishing and self-distributing through mail order or direct to businesses myself. And I didn't have to worry about anybody else's opinions of what I was doing, as long as I could find enough people that were willing to support it. And in those years, I looked at things a lot differently. I did not. In college, I had a student group, and we did 27 titles between the membership. And we would go to conventions, and we would go to comic book retailers, and they would turn us away because black and white comics don't sell, or because we were the wrong size format, or, well, if you get your book through Diamond, I'll carry you, or any excuse not to carry us, basically. And I kind of got the attitude that, okay, I don't need to rely on comic shops. I need to go get my books where people will find them. And so I would go to used bookstores, record stores, tattoo parlors, arts and crafts stores, restaurants, all kinds of different businesses. And yes, you had to go in person, and you had to give them your presentation. And I'd say about 75 to 85% of the time you got turned down, and it can be very hard to take, but you just keep going until you find enough people that are going to back you. And that's what we did. And fortunately, I had enough people in the group that it wasn't just all me getting all the rejections. So that helped a lot. But we also went on college campuses, and we would go door to door through the dorms at that time, which you really can't do as easily today. because of all the terrorism and stuff that has happened over the last 30 years, unfortunately. But back then we had that option. Nowadays, you would probably contact the dean of the school and see if you could do a presentation as a group that way. But, instead of doing what we did. But, that's what I did back in that time. And I stopped doing it because both my parents suffered heart attacks and I had to take time off to be a caregiver. Pop Culture asks, do I happen to know the price that Diamond paid for Capital? I think it was $3 million. I'm not positive about that, but if I remember correctly, it's around $3 million. He then asked about massage parlors. No, we didn't go to massage parlors. We did go to tattoo parlors, but not massage parlors. We also did smoke shops. Let's see, what else did we do? Auto dealerships, barbershops, mom and pop gas stations. Anything that was like a mom and pop business, we tried to market at least some of our books to them. But we didn't want to go like chain stores because chain stores then had to go to their upper management above them, even though they own a store. Like if you went to like McDonald's, they'd have to go talk to the McDonald's franchisers to say they could do it or not. There's that's true. A lot of the mom and pop businesses aren't there like they were 30 years ago, and that makes a difference. But there are places to go. I mean, there's always things to do and places to go. It's just that it's a lot more time. It's very time consuming because you're always on the road visiting places and getting turned down. And if you're doing it all by yourself as a one-man show with one book, it can get very depressing because you get rejected so often. But if I was going to say coalitions, these groups that are forming these groups, and you have like multiple titles, I think it's a lot better chance of getting at least some of your stuff, if not all of your stuff, successfully marketed. We had a lot of books that did okay for what they were. They would sell a couple hundred copies or maybe 1,000 copies, but then we had other books that were selling up as high as 13,000 units. And, that's, based on the quality of the book and other things going on at the time. Ooh, if you could find it, because a lot of my stuff was underground in the Midwest regions. Let's see. The stuff that people tend to like the best, that's out there, that's mine and not me just freelancing as someone else ghosting, is a series called Supreme 6 that I did from 1992 to 1995. Think of it as my version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and not the current Guardians with Star-Lord and Rocket, but the original Guardians with Vance Astro and Yondu and Martin X and Charlie 27 in that group. I don't have the print handy, but I'll be sure to show you some of that stuff in the future again. Then I did a project where I edited and did some of the inking work with Chad Curry on a series called Hardball from Curry Comics. They did 3 issues of that in '93. I also edited and the company North Free. Constellation Studios is the name of the company that I was under and still am under. Let me see here. Do I have the book handy? Yes, I do. This is Wingman, Art of Myself, Volume 1. Let me see if I can there's two of the characters of the Supreme Six, Cygnus and Windstorm. And that is back from that era, so you can tell what my artwork looked like back in that era. The guy on the left that you see is Harold, and that is my inks over Bob Nugent for his series Interdimensional Task Force, which was one of our other higher seller books. Let's see. And yes, you can purchase this book from me directly. I still have plenty of copies of this. Unfortunately, I am sold out of the Supreme Six stuff. Let's see if there's other things here. The guy with the big ass shoulder blades is Hardball from '93, and I'll show you Chad's stuff. I don't have Chad's book right handy. I have one of the old pre-press type stuff before we actually did the lettering on it. It's all black and white, yes. And then the ram in the bottom corner here. Where am I at? Right here. That was an actual comic strip that I did in high school. And, yes, Pop Culture did order that. And what he means by an original artwork is like this one. I did Deadpool in this sketch in this book. You can order it with a sketch for extra. What was it, $10, I think? But anyway, I did a Raven head in color for PCA on his copy. Let's see what else we got here. Sin Killer wanted to see process a little bit. There's a process of a character, body sketch, rough sketch stage 2, rough sketch stage 3, and then the final of the inks of my character, Stargazer, who's a member of the Supreme Six. And Supreme Six is kind of just like I said, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy type stuff, the originals. They find out that they're different aliens and species that were being held captive, and they break free, and then they're trying to figure out who everybody is and what their origins are and everything. So there's that. But anyway, so there's that. The other thing that you might want to try and find of mine is Adventures of Spacey the Alien. I did that book from 1993 until 1998, and I did 33 issues of it. It's an all ages comics and activity book that I did for kids, where you had the storyline, but then there was like mazes and crossword puzzles and word finds that pertain to the story as well. And that one I sold to restaurants to go with the kids' menus. So they would buy the book and then give it out with the kids with their kids' menus for an extra $1 or something like that. And I made some good money on that one. That one sold around 11,000 units a month. And I don't know where the recent sketch I did of him is right now, but one of the original, old original sketches of Spacey from '94. I have that, and this is like something I did in like 10 seconds. Just whipped it out and then messed it up with some markers, but that's the basic character. So I can show you a better drawing of him later. North Free Ass, you drew for Upper Deck. I did Marvel Masterpieces. Let's see. Was it 2007? Yeah, 2007 edition of Marvel Masterpieces. I think that was maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. I've also done a lot of people who just bring me their blank. They get the blank sketch cards from other artists, and they just bring me the blanks to do. I also did. I don't know if they were released, but Marvel paid for the cards for not Steranko, Joe Jusko, for the Jusko set. That was the honoring Joe Jusko. I did that as well. And let me see here if I can share some of that stuff for you to give an idea. I'll look that up real quick. I have to find it on my board. Apologies. Whoops, that's stuff for some. Okay, let me share another screen with you real quick. There we go. I don't know if I can increase it any, but I'll try. This is one I did in 2016 for Marvel Masterpieces. This is an artist proof card. Let's see. There was a Doctor Strange one I did, again, for the APs. This is commissions from other people. These were 2 of the ones I did for Joe Jusko that were approved. And I don't even consider these my best as far as the sketch cards go. I prefer doing my own rather than doing the Marvel Masterpieces. Just give me a second. I prefer to do a lot of headshots instead of doing the body shots for that. And I know that Pops ordered some of my cards, but this gives you some idea of what I can do with the trading cards. Here's some Spideys. Whoops. Here's the more MCU style characters. I don't know how much shine you're getting, so. And these run between $5 and $10 a card generally. But you know, you said you liked Wolverine. There's a good headshot of Wolverine. So I got a lot of those available. And sometimes on this show, I do sales on the channel. So, be aware of that. So I'll let you guys know ahead of time when I'm doing those so that you can like put your money aside and get ready to bid or buy something on spot. And I don't just draw that style. I draw the Bruce Timm DCAU style. Here's some of the Star Wars stuff. More Star Wars. With Shredder from the TMNT behind them. Let's see. All I got left of my Turtles is two Shredders and two Shredders and a Splinter. All my other Turtles are sold. So if you want that, you'll have to commission them. Got some Transformers, Godzilla. So I do a lot of different stuff with that sort of thing. Dragons. So I've always got stuff like that. And I said most of these are between $5 and $10 a card. Some are even a little bit cheaper than that, depending on what it is. So I'm pretty open on that sort of thing. But yeah, let's see here. People always want to know if I can do the manga stuff. So there's sort of, Dragon Ball Z and Pokemons and stuff like that. So I do a lot of different things like that. And of course I do 8.5 by 11s and stuff like that as well. So, and you'll see more of that stuff in the future if you're new to the channel. That's one thing that people are telling me I need to start bringing back start promoting more of my own work on the show and get my shirts and other stuff back out there. Have I ever done Smog? Well, if you mean like in the movie, no. I kind of sort of did something akin to the Smog from the Baskin Ras, or Rankin Bass. There we go. 1970s animation version, but there's that. But yeah, I do a lot of different stuff with those things. Going back to the Wingman, you can see there's a dragon around the cover telling me how to draw. Yes, I see myself as a raven. There you go. But let's see here. This was the original from 83, 85 that I was drawing for the original comic strip of the Ram that I showed you from 2011. That was a newer version. And then this is like an early dragon I was doing from like the late 80s, early 90s. But speaking of Tolkien, there you go. There's a Gollum. So there's a lot of stuff there. I tend to do any genre. Here's some more dragons and just fantasy characters. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff there to be had in this book, and Oh, more dragons. There you go. So there you go. But yeah, you can order that. It's basically 15 in the U.S. If you're not in the U.S., let me know where you're at, and I'll see what I can do with the shipping and handling. And you can email me at the address you see on the screen, quothravenlbr72@gmail.com for more information on that. Let's see. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the early '90s, the comics I did in the '90s. I either sold out, or when I moved out west in '94, I moved from Michigan to Arizona, and the truck broke down in part of the way, and we had to transfer all of our goods from one truck to a new truck, and some of my stuff got lost in the process, or people stole it. I don't know which, but it was never recovered, and I lost a bunch of stuff. I lost like maybe 20% of my comics collection. I lost like maybe 50 to 60% of my self-published books that I had. A whole bunch of stuff was missing. And I did get financial compensation from the moving company, but things like that, not just sentimental value, but it also has a historical value to you. So you kind of missed out on that. Did I ever do any work for gaming or video game covers or music albums? Oh, geez, yes. I did an album cover for a rock rap group called Excalibur. The name of the album is what was it? Knights of the Sound Table. So what it is the actual Excalibur sword, like being a needle of the record arm with the record spinning. So that's what that was for that cover. I don't have it an example of that anymore, but that was from 1992 or 93. And as far as gaming, I've done spot artwork for TSR, Wizards of the Coast, Steve Jackson Games, and Pinnacle Games over the last 30 years. So there's a lot of stuff out there by me. It's just a question of whether or not you can find it and whether or not it's credited. Because a lot of times when you're doing the spot illustrations, you might have my letters in there. No, they weren't a metal band. They were a rock rap type thing. They were... what is the name of that? They're not in Detroit. It's north of Detroit where they're from, but I can't remember exactly where right off the top of my head because it's been so long since I've lived in Michigan. But it was like 3 black guys and a Hispanic guy and a white guy, and they were doing, I guess you could say, let me look at. Let me see if I can't think of the name of the band. Linkin Park. That's what I was trying to think of. They're like Linkin Park, if you're familiar with them. But like 20 years earlier. And I wouldn't say they were that good, but I'm not going to turn away $300 to $500 assignment either. But yeah, it was an interesting assignment. I also did some design work for a couple other bands for like drum kits and stuff like that. The big bass drum. I did a couple of symbols for design for them for that, but it was myself and a guy named Richard Janik, because he was in two bands, a band named Trigger Happy and a band named Proud, and we collaborated on those for his bands because he was the drummer for those bands and stuff like that. But he didn't even really need my help. He was a better artist than me at the time, I think. But it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Where'd your cat go? Chasing something crazy? Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, probably next week, since Killer was asking me about tools being used and stuff like that, I'll probably next week on Saturday sometime, I will probably do a live draw and talk about tools being used and stuff like that. We'll see what we come up with. And then, by the way, pop culture, and is Monster Fan in the room? I don't think I saw him, but is he? Well, whether he is or not, I sent both of you an email listing a bunch of movies. Well, hopefully it's next week. Next Friday is, but I don't know yet. Usually movie night is on Fridays. I just sent Pop Culture and Monster Fan a list of movies that I've got links to on Tubi.com. And I asked them which ones they wanted to watch and wanted me to watch, and I'd discuss. And I don't know how many I listed. I missed a bunch of them. Let's see. Let me quickly go back to that one. Okay. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, probably around 50 or 60 live action movies dating back from 1922 through 2019 that I listed. And then I listed like 10 or 15 anime films as well. And that's not even close to what I have marked to watch. So, it's just a matter of what Pop Culture and Monster Fan wanted me to talk about. Am I considering doing my own crowdfunding campaign at some point? I'm still not really sold on that yet. I don't know. I may have no choice, to be honest. So yeah, probably at some point. I don't know. First I want to do is kind of get the t-shirts and other things going, and I keep putting it off. I haven't found a group I'm happy with. I'm going to have to do better on that and get that done later. Hopefully before the end of the quarter here, so we can get stuff so people can order it and get it shipped to them for Christmas. That'll be the Quoth the Raven symbol, and then the original box set with the Raven in the space station t-shirt. I don't know if you guys remember the original stuff there. Let me see if I can look that up. Oh, it doesn't want to do that. How nice. All right. Okay. Let me. All right. I'll do some sharing here. I don't know if you remember this. This symbol, but it'll be something. This is one of the possibilities with the. It won't say Quoth Raven like this. It'll have something else in that shirt. It'll have that. There's another one as well. I don't know if I can do that legally. I'm trying to remember how that works because I don't want to get like a strike from doing that. Especially if I'm taking it from another person's YouTube channel or from another person's network. So I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Let's see. So there's that possibility, and then I gotta let's see if I can find the other one. This is Raven season 1, so we got to go to season 2, which is not fun. Videos. Close that down. Now we got to go to playlists. We got to go to season 2. Look at the playlist. Okay, here we go. There. This image with me sitting with my microphone in front of the screens in my space station. So there's that symbol as well, and then there's the regular Quoth the Raven that you see in the corner symbol with a yellow triangle with my visage. So those are probably 3 of the options that I'm going to try and get set up. And I don't know. I got to find out if I can like put double-sided images, front and back, how much that's going to cost, and I got to find out if I can advertise it as a YouTube channel or what do I do with that? I'm not sure if I can take it from someone else's channel and air it live with YouTube. They might have someone list me as copyright infringement. So I try not to go there as a rule, but we'll see about what I can do about that. But yeah, that's the situation there. But that's hopefully going to be the T-shirts available later. So, believe me, I've had strikes for stupidest things. I had something like they tried to claim that the music that John Norris made specifically for my show was a copyright infringement, and I had to prove it was wrong. So people just harass you, unfortunately. So, but yeah, that's the situation with that. But if nothing else, Monster and Pop can come on the show as guest hosts, and we can talk about something we've all seen together at the relatively same time, or something like that. Like I did with Monster Fan a few months ago. So, there's that possibility. If you guys want to talk, if you guys have not seen that, look for the Friday night movie discussions with John Norris, where we talk about that, and you'll get an idea of that. But there's all kinds of cool stuff in the back history of the videos and the channel. We've got over 370 videos on the channel so far. So that's I think it's gonna be all for tonight, though, because I've got to go fix dinner. Feed the kitty before he decides to jump me. But I appreciate you all for watching, as always. I hope that I answered the question that was asked of me pretty well. In the meantime, if you liked this video or you think others might, whoops, it's not wanting to share. Why doesn't it want to share? There we go. If you like the video or you think others might, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, thank you for watching and for your support. If you want to reach me on social media, Lewis.BrightRaven at Facebook, at LewisBrightRaven2 on Twitter. See more of my artwork, like those sketch cards that you saw. That was on deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You're watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com is the place to email me. And if I don't get back with you, either privately or publicly, within a day or two, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. And that's pretty much all for tonight. So I will see you guys next time. Have a good night. And probably see you on Monday next. But if something comes up this weekend where I have time to do it, I'll let you guys know. Until then, have a good weekend, everyone.